Amina's earliest memories were filled with laughter, wealth, and security. She grew up in Ikoyi, Lagos, where her father, Alhaji Musa, was a well-known businessman. He had contracts with the government, construction projects across the city, and his name carried weight. Their house was grand, with tall gates and security guards at every entrance. They had drivers, nannies, and cooks. Amina's mother, Ajia Fatima, ran a successful textile shop at Balegan Market, known for selling high-quality fabrics imported from Dubai and Europe. But the wealth didn't last. The Nigerian economy was always unstable, and when the government changed, Alhaji Musa's contracts were revoked. At first, the family didn't feel the impact. Alhaji Musa was confident he could bounce back. He used his connections, called in favors from politicians and old business partners. But the favors were never returned. The new government brought in their own contractors, and soon, Alhaji Musa was pushed to the sidelines. The collapse came slowly but surely. The family began selling off their properties, first the land in Lekki, then the fleet of cars. Amina watched as the house emptied out, item by item, until they had nothing left. By the time she was 20, they had moved to a modest flat in Suralere, a far cry from the mansion they once owned. Amina was forced to drop out of university. She had been in her second year, studying law at the University of Lagos. Her dreams of becoming a lawyer were now distant memories, replaced by the harsh reality of survival. Her younger siblings, Hossein, 15, and Zainab, 12, also had to drop out of their expensive private schools. Amina's mother tried to revive her textile business in their new neighborhood, but the customers were different. They couldn't afford the high-quality fabrics she once sold. The pressure mounted. Amina saw the pain in her father's eyes every day as he tried to hold on to his pride. He spent hours on the phone, trying to salvage what was left of his business, but the calls always ended in disappointment. His health began to decline. The stress of losing everything took a toll on him, and soon, he was diagnosed with high blood pressure and diabetes. Amina felt the weight of the family's survival on her shoulders. She was the eldest, and her mother looked to her for help. The daily struggles, finding money for food, rent, and her father's medication, became overwhelming. She tried working odd jobs, but they barely made a dent in the bills. It was around this time that Cynthia, her old friend from school, reappeared in her life. Cynthia had always been the wild one in their group back in secondary school. While Amina had been focused on her studies, Cynthia had been interested in parties, boys, and living life to the fullest. Amina had distanced herself from Cynthia when they were younger, but now, seeing Cynthia living a life of luxury despite coming from a modest background, Amina couldn't help but wonder how she was managing. Cynthia drove a flashy car, wore designer clothes, and was always talking about the latest events she attended at fancy hotels in Victoria Island and Lekki. Amina envied her, but she also knew that Cynthia hadn't come by her wealth honestly. "Babe, life no easy, but you fit still find way to survive," Cynthia said one evening when they met at a local bar. "This Lagos no hustle, and if you no shine your eye, you go lose." Amina was curious, but she was also hesitant. She knew the rumors about Cynthia's lifestyle. She was involved in runs, a type of high-class prostitution where girls like Cynthia cater to wealthy politicians, businessmen, and expatriates. The money was good, but the cost was high. At first, Amina resisted. She still held on to some pride, believing that she could find a way out without selling her body. But as the weeks passed and the financial pressure at home became unbearable, her resolve weakened. Her father's medical bills were piling up, her siblings were out of school, and they could barely afford to eat. One day, Cynthia made her an offer. "Amina, I fit introduce you to one big man. He go pay you 300k just for one night. No small thing. Nobody go know. You fit take care of your family with that kind money." Amina hesitated. 300,000 naira for one night. That was more than she could ever imagine making in her current situation. She thought about her father, her siblings, and the shame in her mother's eyes. Desperation pushed her to say yes. Amina's first client was a well-known politician in Lagos. He was old, married, and had children Amina's age, but that didn't matter. For him, it was just another transaction. For Amina, it was the beginning of a double life. She hated every minute of it, but the money was real, and it was enough to keep her family afloat. After that first night, more offers came. Cynthia introduced her to a network of wealthy men who were willing to pay large sums for discreet affairs. Amina learned quickly how to act, what to wear, and how to keep her business separate from her family life. Her family had no idea where the money was coming from. Her mother was just grateful that they could pay the bills and send her siblings back to school. Her father, too proud to ask, simply accepted the money without question. Amina told herself that it was only temporary, that once they were stable again, she would quit. But Lagos is a city that swallows you whole. The more Amina earned, the more she spent. She began to enjoy the lifestyle, fancy dinners, expensive clothes, and nights at five-star hotels. She convinced herself that she was still in control, that she could stop whenever she wanted. But deep down, she knew she was trapped.